After all these years, I still get amazed and surprised by how some builders are able to offer something that already exists, but expand its possibilities by making it more versatile, more fun, more usable, and in this case, more tweakable. So this pedal is not your typical user-friendly plug-and-play type of effect. You first need to know what type of sound you're looking for and then sculpt it out of the pedal. The important detail here is that it has to be at its core a CMOS color saturation, a so-called modern Darkglass type of sound. This means compressed low end, scooped low mids, and dynamic, aggressive high mids to treble. Although this sound is fantastic for metal music and all its variants, I find it has difficulties with other styles where overdrive is used on bass. Basically all the rest of musical genres, as saturation is probably the best way to add harmonics and texture to bass, to make it stand out, especially in the mids, where precisely the CMOS type of saturation concentrates less. So it works amazingly well for that type of music, but not that well for all the rest, as I just mentioned. This is where the BP-7 becomes interesting. Yes, it has that CMOS sound, but you can tweak it or modify it. You can even unscoop, if there ever would be such a word, the sound, and discover the full CMOS potential once the mids are driven. So it does lose some self-control, but it can turn into a fuzz monster, as we are about to discover. So yes, once you understand how this pedal works, you can shape the sound to your likings, from a typical Darkglass B3K or vintage vibe to a fuzz or even a preamp, reinforced by the fact that this pedal has a DI balanced output. So I already gave you a lot of information and a general idea of what the pedal is. Now let's see in action what it does. Welcome back to the What a Bass. First of all, thank you, Andrew, for your patience, trust, and for sending me this monster of a pedal. Again, you outdid yourself and proved, at least to me, the extent of your electronic skills by adding a fun factor to a pedal based on that Darkglass character without some of its limitations. With the BP-7, you give bass players like myself something we can nerd about, tweak, and try stuff with. Because this journey of using pedals is nothing more than that. Be inspired by sound and have fun experimenting. So why is this pedal so versatile? Well, inside you can select a bunch of different sonic options. You got 2 voicings, 2 gain levels, on or off mid filters, and 2 ways to apply the EQ to either the wet or both wet and dry signals. This means that there are, if my calculations are correct, 16 different sounds that you can create by moving the jumpers inside the pedal. And you'll get to see this later on in the video. Add to these the controls in the front panel and yeah, endless possibilities. Again, I do want to insist that on the pedal, the initials CMOS are written, so it's a clear statement of what type of sound to expect. But Andrew seemed to have told himself, let's see how far we can push this statement, or concept, if you will. So let's see what's going on inside the pedal. The voicing is set to modern, and the jumper is set to high gain. And we've got the classic scooped sound of the B3K, for example, or the Ultra B7K, or whatever, the typical Darkglass sound. And the EQ is set to both dry and wet signals. Before we continue, I just wanted to tell you that I recorded the live samples through the Strobo Stomp Peterson tuner, the BP-7, and into the Mozztronics DI2 Valve Direct Box Mark II. And we're using my brand new bass that I just built. I still don't have a name for it, so if you want to be creative and suggest one, that would be great. And if it would include a double O, like my family name, Van Loo or Van Loo, that would be even greater. So yeah, be creative, let me know. It's a 34-inch scale bass, 5-string, obviously. An interesting thing about it is the pickup, and that is a hybrid between a Precision and a Music Man. So it has the roundness and tonality of a precision bass pickup, and it has the attack of a Music Man. Both sounds are iconic in the industry. So really, really happy with the results. So instead of coming up with 16 different sounds, let's concentrate on two that I find the most surprising and that I did not expect at all. Here's the first one. So in this sound sample, we set the voicing to vintage for a chunkier mid-range response. The gain is set to high, and we have bypassed that typical CMOS scooped sound, that typical Darkglass CMOS scooped sound, by setting the jumper to the high position, and the EQ is set to both signals. Both wet and dry. It blends better that way in this case. So we still have a bit of clean signal over here. We still have some dry signal coming in and some wet. The drive is quite high, so it kind of compensates. Contour is on because I lowered the bass. Less mids, more treble. Well, I also cut down the treble quite a bit. But yeah, it sounds almost like a big muff. It's a great reactive drive sound, fuzz. It's really in the fuzz territory, actually. And here's the second. So the setting changes a little bit here. What remains the same from the previous sound sample is the voicing that's set on vintage, but this time we're using the low gain setting and the regular scooped sound. And the EQ is only on the dirt, only on the, well, what we can call the preamp, because what we wanted to do here is give it a preamp character or an amp character to the pedal. So it's the dry signal that comes from the bass. By the way, I turned down just a little bit the tone knob of the bass to get a kind of a darker tone. So you see that the wet signal is quite high, but the drive is low, and also because the jumper is set to low. So it gives a bit of sizzle and a bit of a drive sound, of a nice drive sound. But more than anything else, it's scooped and it's really warm and lovely for an amp type of for an amp sip type of effect. So a scooped modern drive, a fuzz, a bass preamp, and even a bass amp simulation. and anything else that you could think of within the CMOS sonic boundaries. A quick word about the modern and vintage voicing that is interesting. Andrew talks about them as in and out of phase. So my guess is that modern is out of phase and vintage in phase. Due to its slightly fuller sound, the difference is more noticeable at higher gain, and I suppose this phase situation is only for certain frequencies. And my guess is that it's more in the mids. Talking about that, the default sound is set to scoop, but by changing the jumper to unscooped, a word that I will definitely add to my vocabulary from now on, the boost of saturation in the mid-range is wild. The closest sound to a creamy fuzz I heard from any CMOS overdrive yet. Something completely new to my ears because it changes the bass preamp character of the BP-7 to a more straightforward drive pedal. Finally, the EQ set to both signals makes blending them more natural as they combine perfectly. When set to drive only, I think it works better at a lower gain for an amp sim type of sound. And now that I mentioned this, let's talk about the DI balanced output. As always, a killer feature from Mozztronics. You can easily imagine using this preamp pedal along with a compressor in front of it on stage or in studio and have a uniquely personal yet versatile enough sound for most situations. One quick small detail that I forgot to mention, it's this contour switch, and what it does, it adds some low end. You especially feel it in certain settings. But yeah, it's pretty nice. It adds so much low end sometimes that you have to cut the bass, bring it down a little bit. Oh, and an important thing I'm also forgetting to mention is that the EQ is a cut feature, which is probably the best solution for making sure that you are not boosting a frequency that does not exist. So you're only cutting, which is what professional sound engineers do anyway. So very nice feature on this pedal. So now let's try moving the jumpers around to hear what the different sounds are like running a loop through the pedal. And this time, all the sounds you are about to listen to are from the DI balanced output. Good, that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the pedal and its concept, the fact that you can tweak it if you like it or not. Follow me on Instagram to keep up with the gear I will demo in the future at the What a Bass channel. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Thanks, Andrew.